History is not a finished book. History is a giant jigsaw puzzle that is still being completed every day. Every new archaeological discovery must find its place within that picture. The vast majority of artifacts found fit into what humanity already knows. They reinforce existing patterns and help shed light on the story of the past. But there are always exceptions. There are always artifacts that come to light and spark heated debates. Not because they have the power to rewrite history, because they force history to become more complicated. The most remarkable thing is not the artifact itself. What's remarkable is how people react to things that don't easily fall into familiar patterns. And in this video, we will explore 4 such cases. 4 mysteries have never truly disappeared. These 4 findings continue to raise questions that are still debated today. In a barren desert region of southern Peru lies one of the most controversial collections of artifacts of the 20th century. Those are the Ica Stones. At first glance, they seem unremarkable, just dark rocks with carvings on their surfaces. But upon closer inspection, one begins to see very perplexing images. There are dinosaur pictures, there are some strange maps, there are surgical scenes, there are images depicting the sky and celestial bodies. There were even figures observing the sky using devices that looked like telescopes. These images are what have made the Ica rocks the focus of debates that have lasted for decades. Many researchers believe that the majority of the stone slabs are modern products created for sale to tourists. This is also the most widely accepted explanation today. But what makes the story interesting isn't the debate about whether it's true or false. What makes Ica stones unusual lies in another factor: scale. Imagine someone wanting to forge an archaeological artifact. That is entirely possible. Imagine a group of people wanting to create several dozen artifacts. That could also happen. But in Ica, the number mentioned is not a few dozen or a few hundred. Reports over the years have consistently mentioned thousands, even tens of thousands, of stone slabs with a relatively uniform style. And this is where the real question arises. If everything is a product of modern times, who is doing all that work? If the goal is simply to sell to tourists, why are there so many complicated topics? Because the rock carvings don't revolve around just one single idea. They span many different fields. Some of the stone slabs depict animals, some astronomical descriptions, some geographical descriptions, some descriptions of medical procedures. Others resemble stories that unfold through a series of consecutive images. What is even more noteworthy is the consistent style displayed across the stone slabs. The features are relatively similar. The image layouts have many similarities. The visual language is repeated across a vast number of artifacts, and that is why Ica stones continue to attract attention to this day. The more you look at this collection, the more you realize that the most interesting question isn't the dinosaurs carved into the stone. The most interesting question is why such a large volume of images exists. Imagine a civilization that wants to preserve its knowledge. Today, we use data servers, hard drives, and cloud computing. Billions of pieces of information are stored digitally. But there's a paradox that very few people think about. A single slab of stone can last for thousands of years. A digital file could disappear within decades if there are no longer suitable devices to read it. A hard drive has a limited lifespan. A data format can become outdated. A storage system can disappear along with the civilization that created it. Meanwhile, a rock carving can survive for generations. This is what makes the Ica stones offer a fascinating perspective on how humans preserve knowledge. Regardless of when these stones were created, they reflect a very ancient idea. It is the desire to preserve information using materials that can withstand the test of time. Because, on a historical scale, time is the greatest destroyer. The city disappeared. The empire collapsed. The language is lost. The library burned to ashes. But the carvings on the rocks can still survive for thousands of years under the sun, wind, and dust. Perhaps that is why the greatest mystery of the Ica stones does not lie in the images carved on their surface. The biggest mystery lies in the question they raise. If a civilization wants to send a message to the distant future, what method would they choose to ensure that message lasts the longest? And are we really preserving knowledge better than people who lived thousands of years ago? That's a question that remains highly relevant in today's digital age. And if the Ica Stones made us think about how knowledge is preserved over time, the next artifact raises a completely different question. Because sometimes the most surprising thing isn't the artifact itself. Rather, it's about how we assess the capabilities of the people who created it. Of all the controversial artifacts that have ever appeared in the world of archaeology, few have generated as much fascination as crystal skulls. From the first glance, one often gets the feeling that they don't belong to the past. The skulls are crafted from transparent or semi-transparent quartz. The surface is polished to the point of reflecting light in striking ways. The curves of the skulls are almost perfectly symmetrical. As light passes through the quartz, strange optical effects appear, making the entire artifact look more like something out of science fiction than from ancient history. Therefore, over the years, countless theories have emerged surrounding them. But then modern research gradually led to a conclusion accepted by many experts. Most of the famous crystal skulls were most likely crafted in Europe around the 19th century to serve the then booming market for antique collecting. For many, the story seems to end here. The artifact has been explained, the mystery has been solved, but that's not the most interesting thing. Even if we accept this hypothesis, there remains a question worth pondering. Why quartz? Why would a craftsman or workshop choose a material that is so hard, difficult to work with, and requires such a huge amount of effort? And why did they decide to turn it into a human skull? That's where the real story begins. Imagine a large block of quartz lying in front of the craftsman. Simply finding materials of sufficient quality is not a simple task. Next comes the process of cutting, grinding, and polishing. Every small mistake can ruin the entire block of stone. Each stroke requires precision and patience that spans months, even years. This isn't the kind of work done just to create an ordinary object. It requires a significant investment of time, skills, and resources. And that leads to another question. Are we focusing too much on dating artifacts and overlooking why they were created? Because throughout history, humanity has repeatedly underestimated the capabilities of previous civilizations. The Egyptian pyramids were once considered nearly impossible to build with ancient technology. Today, we know that they could very well have been built by the extremely skilled engineers and craftsmen of that era. The Antikythera mechanism once astonished researchers due to its incredible complexity. Roman concrete continues to be studied for its exceptional durability even after thousands of years. In all three cases, the problem did not lie with the artifacts themselves. The problem lies in the initial assumptions made by humans. We often unconsciously assume that people who lived in the past must have been less developed than ourselves. We often view history as a straight line moving from simple to complex, from backward to modern. But in reality, it's rarely that simple. Different civilizations develop different skills. Ancient craftsmen may not have owned computers, but they could have dedicated their entire lives to perfecting a single technique. The amazing achievements we see today are often the result of generations of accumulated knowledge and experience. Therefore, the important question is not, could the ancients have done this? The more important question is, by what standards are we judging them? Because if the only standard is modern technology, we easily overlook other forms of knowledge that existed in the past. That's also what makes these crystal skulls so interesting. Not because they prove the existence of some mysterious civilization. It's not because they overturned history, because they force us to think about how we perceive the past. Sometimes the greatest limitation in understanding history doesn't lie in a lack of evidence. The biggest limitation lies in our overconfidence that we already understand enough. And that very confidence can cause the most important questions to be overlooked. But if the crystal skull made us think about how people in the past judged ability, the next artifact goes even further, because it sits on a famous Mayan stone slab where the same image has given rise to two completely different interpretations. One side sees the religious symbol. The other side saw traces of a story that had long been forgotten. In 1952, archaeologists discovered one of the most important finds of the Mayan civilization inside the ancient city of Palenque in southern Mexico. Hidden deep within an ancient pyramid lies the tomb of the famous king, Kinich Janab Pakal, often simply known as Pakal the Great. But what attracted the world's attention wasn't just the tomb. That's the enormous slab of stone that rested on the lid of his coffin. For decades, the image carved into this stone slab has become one of the most famous symbols of world archaeology, and it is also one of the most controversial images. At first glance, viewers might feel as if they are looking at a complex structure made up of countless interconnected details. At the center is the image of Pakal in a very distinctive pose. Surrounding him are a series of overlapping symbols, lines, and structures. For Mayan scholars, the meaning of this relief is quite clear. It depicts the world tree, a sacred symbol connecting heaven, earth, and the afterlife in Mayan beliefs. The entire composition represents the spiritual journey of the king after death and the connection between humanity and the universe. That is the widely accepted explanation in academic circles. But interestingly, not everyone sees the same story. Some observers of this stone slab noticed something else. They saw a system of many closely interconnected details. They saw Pakal leaning forward. They saw hands placed on parts that resembled control mechanisms. They saw the legs positioned in a way that made the whole image look like a person operating some kind of equipment. It is from this point that other interpretations begin to emerge. Although most of these theories are not accepted by archaeologists, they still raise a thought-provoking question. Why can the same image evoke such different interpretations? The answer may lie in the nature of the symbol. Because in the ancient world, people didn't record information in the way we're familiar with today. They use mythology, they use imagery, they use stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. And this is where things get more interesting. When researchers compare the mythologies of many civilizations around the world, they consistently find similar motifs appearing in places thousands of kilometers apart. Stories about the Great Flood, the gods descended from the sky. Glorious cities disappear overnight. Civilizations are destroyed and then reborn. From Mesopotamia, Egypt, and India to Central America, similar imagery has consistently appeared in various forms. That doesn't mean all of these stories are history in the modern sense, but that doesn't mean they're entirely fictional. Before books, libraries, and the widespread literacy of most people, collective memory was often preserved through mythology. An event can be retold hundreds of times. Each generation adds new layers of meaning. The factual details gradually blend with symbolism and beliefs. Over the centuries, the original story can change completely in form, but the core of the memory continues to exist. That is why many modern researchers no longer view mythology as simply imaginary stories. They view mythology as a repository of humanity's cultural memory, another form of language used to preserve things that our ancestors considered important. It's possible that Pakal's stone slab was simply a religious artifact. It is possible that its full meaning was accurately interpreted by Mayan scholars. But even in that case, it still reminds us of something important. Not all knowledge from the past is written in the language we are familiar with. Sometimes history is preserved through symbols. Sometimes history is preserved through mythology. And sometimes, what is considered a legend is just another way for memory to transcend time. But if the Pakal stone slabs blur the lines between history and mythology, then the final stop on this journey blurs another line, the boundary between natural and man-made. The line may not be as clear-cut as we imagine. In a remote area of Qinghai Province, northwestern China, there exists a site that has been the subject of controversy for many years. That place is known as Baigong. At first glance, Baigong doesn't look like a famous archaeological site. There are no giant pyramids, no colossal statues, no ancient underground cities. What makes this place special lies in the strange structures that appear between the Rocky Mountains and the lake shore. Many people describe them as resembling metal pipes that have been buried underground for a very long time. Some structures run along the rocky slope, some pierced through the rock formations. Some branches off in various directions, giving the impression of a deliberately designed infrastructure system. This particular shape quickly attracted attention. Because when humans see straight lines, connecting branches, or organized patterns, we often think of intellectual intervention. That's how the brain is formed. We are always looking for signs of design, but science offers a different explanation. Geological studies suggest that the structures at Baigong were most likely formed through natural processes spanning millions of years. Cracks appeared in the rock. Minerals from groundwater gradually filled these voids. Then, erosion exposed the internal structures, creating shapes resembling artificial pipes. That is the explanation supported by many researchers. However, the reason Baigong continues to be talked about is not because that explanation is weak. Conversely, the geological explanation is entirely plausible. What makes Baigong so interesting is the feeling it evokes when we observe it. Because the more one looks at those structures, the more one realizes a bigger question is emerging. If a man-made structure exists long enough, will we even recognize it as a structure anymore? Imagine a modern city left abandoned. After 1,000 years, trees began to cover the buildings. After 10,000 years, much of the structure collapsed. Over 100,000 years, wind, water, and continuous geological movements have reshaped the landscape. After 1,000,000 years, what will remain? Would a future archaeologist recognize that it was once a city? Or will all traces of civilization gradually blend into the natural geology? It's no longer a question about Baigong. It's a question about time itself. Archaeological history has repeatedly witnessed instances that were once considered mythical or non-existent. Troy was once considered a story within an epic, until excavations uncovered traces of a real city. Machu Picchu lay hidden deep within the Andes Mountains for centuries before becoming known to the world. Göbekli Tepe has forced researchers to reconsider many assumptions about the level of organization of prehistoric communities. Each of those discoveries offered the same lesson, not because every unusual hypothesis is correct, because reality is often more complicated than people anticipate. And this is why Baigong continues to be talked about. Not because it proves the existence of a mysterious civilization. It's not because it overthrows modern science. Because it makes us think about a very simple possibility. Time can change everything. A mountain can become a plain. An ocean can turn into a desert. A city can become a layer of rock buried deep underground. And if that's true, the line between natural and man-made may not be as clear-cut as we think. Because over time, what humans create and what nature creates can gradually blend together to the point where they are no longer easily distinguishable. Perhaps that is the greatest mystery of Baigong. These are not pipe-like structures. Rather, it's the way it forces us to view time from a completely different perspective. From a perspective where even the greatest achievements are merely temporary traces in the endless flow of history. Perhaps the most profound lessons from these mysteries do not lie in the artifacts themselves. It lies within the person observing them. People often assume that understanding history only requires more data, more technology, and more evidence. But history reveals a different truth. The same artifact, the same data, can be interpreted in completely different ways by different people, because human perception is always limited by its own level of understanding and mental state. If our minds are bound by prejudice, we only see what we want to see. If thinking is locked within old patterns, anything new is easily perceived as wrong, illogical, or superstitious. Perhaps that's why understanding the past isn't just an external search. It is also a journey of inner self-improvement. It is the process of learning to be humble in the face of the unknown. Learn to let go of prejudices. Learn to expand your awareness beyond familiar boundaries. Because the more open a mind is, the greater its capacity to receive greater truths. The more a person values morality, lives sincerely and kindly, and strives for self-improvement, the more likely they are to view things objectively. From that perspective, exploring history is not just about digging up ancient relics. It is also a process of self-improvement. It is the process of seeking harmony with the deeper laws of nature and the universe. Perhaps true wisdom doesn't just come from what we know. True wisdom comes from the ability to be in tune with principles greater than oneself. And, who knows, perhaps the key to understanding lost civilizations doesn't lie entirely in the ground. perhaps part of the answer lies in the maturation of human consciousness itself. Do you think these artifacts are just coincidences, misunderstandings, or are they concealing something that history has yet to fully explain? Share your perspective in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to explore more mysteries of history, ancient civilizations, and the big questions facing humanity.